In this project, we're going to be building a WordPress theme for a photo gallery. All right, and we're actually going to be using just the core WordPress post system. We're not going to need any kind of third-party photo gallery or anything like that. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. It's called Photogenic, and you can see on the home page we have some images. If we hover over them, we get a nice effect. And if we click on one, it brings us to the single image page where it has a little animation that comes in, and it also gives us the title, the description, and then we have some meta info up here. Alright, on the side here we have the core categories module, so we can click on that and you can see it only shows the pictures from that category, and they have a nice fade in effect. We also have the search bar on the top. We can just type in, let's say, one of the titles and search, and that's going to come up. Alright, so what we're going to be using for this is the w3.css framework, which is, it's pretty similar to Bootstrap. I actually really like it. It's really easy to work with, and there's a lot of nice looking elements that it gives you. You can see all the stuff on the side here. The animations that we have is actually coming from this framework. Okay, so there's some JavaScript widgets, things like that. Alright, so we're going to get into that. And then this is the back end. And if we look at our posts, you can see we have each photo has its own post. If we click on that, what we're using is the featured image. So all we have to do is upload a feature image, give it a title and a description, and it'll show up. Oh, and we need to choose the gallery format as well. Okay, we're going to have a custom gallery post format. And you can also use standard format for just regular posts as well. Alright, so that's what we'll be doing. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so in this project we're going to be building a photo gallery theme for WordPress. Now before we get into anything that has to do with WordPress, I want to just create the layout in HTML. Alright, and as I said in the introduction, we're going to be using the W3 CSS framework. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is create a new folder, and let's call this, we'll call it photogenic_HTML. Okay, and then in there we're going to create a couple files. Okay, we're going to create index.html. We're going to create a style.css file. And we're going to have a folder called images. Okay, and then one more thing, we're going to have another HTML file that's going to represent the single image. Once we click on one of the images in the gallery, it'll take us here. So we'll call this single.html. Okay, so let's open up the index page with Sublime Text, or of course whatever you'd like. And we're going to just get a base HTML structure here. Okay, and the title will say Photogenic. Now since we're using this W3 CSS framework, we have to include that style sheet. So we're just going to use the CDN here. So we'll say link rel equals style sheet. And then href is going to be HTTP, and it's going to be from the W3 schools website. We want to go to /lib and then /w3.css. Okay, we also want to include our own CSS file. So that's style.css. Okay, now that's really all we need in the head. So next thing we want to do is let's create the header. Okay, so we're going to use the HTML5 header tag. And some of this stuff might change once we are actually building the WordPress theme, just to adapt to the WordPress conventions. So this header, we're going to give this a class. Actually, if we take a look at the documentation here for the framework and we go to containers, it should have headers right here. This is what we want. Okay, we want this. I'm just going to copy that, put that there. Alright, so let's just make sure that everything's actually working so far. So we'll open this with Chrome, and there we go. So we have our heading. Now what we're going to want to do is we want to use the grid system. Alright, so if you've used this, or if you've used Bootstrap or Foundation or any one of those CSS HTML frameworks, then you know what the grid system is. Basically it gives us 12 columns across, and we can set certain divs or certain elements to span across a certain amount of columns. Alright, so if we go to our documentation and we go to the grid, you'll see here the syntax we need, which is this. So what I'm going to do is just copy this row, and we're going to put this right in the header. I'm just going to replace this for now. Okay, let's push that over. And then what we want to do is, for this div here, we're going to change this to L9. This is for large 9, so if if the browser is stretched a certain width, this will kick in, and then medium, this will be if it's smaller. But we're going to just put the same for both 9 columns, and then this one here will be 3. Alright, we can get rid of these paragraphs inside of them. And this one is going to have the heading, so this will be an H1, and this will say photogenic, and I just want to put a span around the word photo because we're going to make that a different color. Okay, so that's the heading, and then on the other side we're going to have our input, and that's going to have its own class of W3 input. Okay, we'll give it a type of text, and then we'll give it a placeholder, and that'll say search. Alright, so let's take a look at that. Okay, that looks good. I do want to bring the search down, so let's go to our CSS file, which is right here. And let's see, what do I want to do? We're going to say header, input, and let's do margin top. We'll say 15 pixels. Okay, there we go. So that's our header. So next we want the sidebar and then the main area. So we're going to use the grid for that as well. So what I'll do is copy what we have here. Okay, I'm going to put that down under the header. Okay, now as far as the columns, we're going to just switch these. This one's going to be 3, and this one's going to be 9. Okay, because we want the sidebar on the left. And then we can just get rid of the content inside. Okay, so for the 3 column, we're just going to have a list of categories. So let's do UL, and we're going to give it a class of W3 UL. And then inside that, we'll have LIs. Okay, with links. This one will say nature. And these are just going to be categories. Whoops. Say people, and we'll say abstract. Okay, so let's save that, take a look. Okay, so there's our categories. Now we want the background to be black and the text to be white. So let's go in our style sheet and just add some core styles here. Okay, so first thing we'll do the body, and we'll give it a background of black and a color of white. Alright, and then for the links, I want to take the underline away, so we're going to say text decoration none. For our LIs, I don't want to have any bullets, so we're going to say list style none. Okay, for the input, we want the text to be a dark color. So let's say color 333. And that should be good. Let's save that. And there we go. Now for the main area, we're going to put another grid inside of this one. Alright, so we're going to need 3 images in a row. Okay, so what we'll do is let's grab this again, this row with the columns, and we're going to put this inside of, you want to be inside of this div. Alright, so we'll paste that in and then get rid of the content. Okay, and then we're going to change both of these to 4. Alright, and then we're going to need one more, so I'm going to copy that, paste that in. Okay, so that'll be 3 columns. So we need an image inside of there, and then also the text underneath. Now as far as the images go, you should have those in your project files. I'm going to put them in right now. Okay, so these are just some black and white images. I'll show you them real quick. Okay, and they're just named 1 through 6 JPEG. Alright, so let's go back to our code editor. And what we'll do is let's put in our image tag, and we're going to point to each one. So this will be source, and then that's going to go to images/1.jpg. Alright, and then we'll also have a paragraph underneath, which I'm just going to put some sample text in. Okay, so we're going to need to do this for all of our columns. Okay, and then we're just going to change the number here to 2, this one to 3. Okay, so that should give us 3 across. Okay, it's not seeing them. Let's see, images, source. There we go. Okay, now what we need to do is set the width of these images to 100% of their container, because right now they're busting out of their container. So in the style sheet, we're going to say image, and we're going to set the width to 100%. Alright, let's see what that looks like. Okay, so that made them all fit nice and neat. So in order for us to get more, we're going to have to put in some more rows. So what I'll do is I'm just going to copy these 4 divs. I'm sorry, these 3 divs. Okay, we'll copy those and just put that right underneath. And then we'll just change the numbers of the file names here to 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so now we have 6 images. Now down at the bottom we just want a simple footer, so let's go down there, and we're going to go after the last div here and then say footer, and then just put in a paragraph. We'll say photogenic, and we'll do a copyright symbol 2016. Alright. So let's save that, and then in the style sheet we're going to say footer, and we're going to do a text align center, put a margin top of 40 pixels, and a border top gray, and then solid 1 pixel. Alright, and for, let's see, I want to center the text here as well. So what we're going to do is with each div with the 4 columns, I'm also going to put a class of pic. Alright, just so each picture div has its own class. Okay, and then what we'll do is in here we'll say dot pic, and let's say text align center. Alright, so we'll save that, and now we have our text aligned. We also have our footer. So in the next part, what we'll do is we will implement the animation, and we'll also create our single .html page. In the last video, we created the HTML and CSS for our home page. Now what we want to do is we want to implement the animation, which is going to be very simple. We're using our W3 CSS framework, which has built-in animation. Okay, so if we take a look at this page, this is the different types. We can have it coming in from the top, bottom, left, and right. We can fade in, we can zoom, and we can spin. Alright, so what I want to do is the photos here on the home page, I want these to fade in. So what we'll do is take a look right here, and this is what we're going to need. We're going to need this class, and we're going to put this on each image. Okay, so let's grab this, copy it, and go to our index page, and on each image we're going to paste this in. Alright, so let's go ahead and try it, and now you can see that it just fades in. Alright, now on the single page, we're also going to use an animation, so let's go ahead and create that. Okay, so we're going to open up single.html. We're going to open that with Sublime. Alright, and then what I want to do is I want to link each of these images to that page. So actually we'll just link the first one. Okay, so let's see, we're going to put an A tag here. That's going to go to single.html. You could put it for the rest if you want, but it doesn't really matter. This is just the HTML. This isn't the actual theme. Okay, so now that's going to go to single HTML. So what I'm going to do is copy everything that's in index HTML and put it in single. Okay, and then what we'll do, all this stuff's going to stay the same, the categories. What we want to do is empty up this 9-column div. So we want to get all this out. Okay, so this is where we're going to put our single image. So we're going to put an article tag here. Okay, and let's give it a class of post. And then we're going to have a paragraph with the class of meta. And some of this stuff might change just a little when we actually create the theme. But what we're going to do is, let's say posted at, and then let's do some kind of time. We'll just say 2:00 p.m. on say 03/29/2016. Okay, and then we're going to say bye Brad. Okay, and after that, let's put an HR. Okay, and then let's put the actual image. So we'll just link this to images/1.jpg. Okay, and we want this to animate, so we're going to give this a class of W3 animate Actually, let me just check that real quick. I want it to come in from the right. So, yeah, we want that. So it would be W3 animate right. Okay, so that's the image, and then under that I want another row. So this will be W3 row, and then we'll have a column. We'll say W3 call, and let's do L2. Okay, this is where we're going to put the back button. And then we'll have a 10 here. Okay, now in the 2, we're just going to have, let's do a BR, put a line break, and then we're going to have a link. That's going to go back to index.html. And we're going to give it a class to format it as a button. So that'll be W3 BTN, and let's say W3 red. Okay, and then on this side we're going to have the photo title and also the description. Okay, description, I'm just going to paste this little bit of sample text in. Alright, so let's save that, and we'll go back to single, and there we go. You can see the image comes in from the right. Now, couple things I want to do. This is too close right here. You can see they're up against each other, this column and this column. So what I'm going to do is, we have an article with the class of post, so I'm just going to add some padding to that post class. So for that we'll say padding 20 pixels. Alright, and then I also want to add the class of pic to that main image. So right here we'll say pic, save that, and let's check it out. Okay, so now you can see that the photo actually fits in there, and also we're not right up against the side column. So we have the title, the description, and the back. Awesome. So that's going to be it for the HTML. Now in the next video we're ready to start creating our WordPress theme. Hey guys, in the last video we went ahead and finished up the HTML template. Now we're ready to convert that template into a WordPress theme. So here I have a fresh installation of WordPress. I haven't done anything to it at all. Alright, so we'll use this as our starting point. And over here you can see I have the folder open up. I just called it WP Themes. Alright, so first thing we need to do is, inside of our WP Content folder, we're going to want to create a theme inside of the themes folder here. Alright, so let's say new folder, and I'm going to call this photogenic. Okay, now first thing we're going to want to create in here is a style.css file. Okay, because this is where we need to put all of our theme data. So up at the top we need to put this in a comment. So we want to format it like this. Alright, and then we need a theme name, which is going to be photogenic. Okay, we don't want that. And then let's do author. You can put your own name. Okay, next will be author URI. And you can put whatever you'd want here. I'm just going to put eduonix.com. I don't know why I keep giving a semicolon. Okay, next thing will be description. So for the description we'll say photo gallery theme. And then we'll do version. Say 1.0.0. And that should be good. So what I'll do now is save this, and we should now actually see it inside of our admin area. So let's reload and then go to Appearance and then Themes and template. Oh, we need to create an index.php file, of course. So let's create new file and save it as index.php. Okay, and then if we go back and reload, you can now see we have Photogenic. Now I do actually have a screenshot that I want to upload, so let's open up, let's see, we're going to want to go to XAMPP or wherever your WordPress installation is, and let's see, WP Themes, we want to go into Photogenic, and when you want to use a screenshot, you want to call it screenshot.png. Okay, so that's what I'm putting in there. And now if we go and reload, now we have a little screenshot. Okay, so let's go ahead and activate this theme. And then if we go to the front end and reload, obviously we're not going to get anything. Okay, so now we can start to put this together. So I think the first thing to do here, one of the easiest, is just to put in the style, the CSS. Alright, so what we'll do is open up the style sheet from our HTML template, and I'm going to just copy everything and then put it right under the comment here. Okay, and we'll save that. And now, okay, so that's still not going to do anything because we have nothing in our index.php. So let's close that and let's go to index.php. And what we'll do is we'll copy everything that we have in our index.html file and paste that in and save it. And then if we go and reload, okay, so it's gonna show us all this just static HTML. Okay, none of this is coming from WordPress, so we're gonna slowly just convert it from just static markup to WordPress. Alright, so let's go to the top here, and first thing we're going to do is we need to include the correct style sheets. So what we'll do is we're going to leave this one, which is the W3 Schools CDN, and then right here we're going to take out this style.css and we're going to put in here PHP blog info, and in here we just want to put in style sheet underscore URL. Okay, if we save that and then go and reload, now that style sheet's being included. Okay, we're not seeing the images because the path is wrong, but we'll get to that later. Alright, so that's the head area. Now another thing we want to put in here is the WP head function, and that's going to put any head content that we need, like say an extra style sheet for a WordPress plugin or something like that. So let's say PHP and then WP underscore head. Okay, and that should take care of it. And then we also want the character set. So we can go right here and say meta char set, and we're going to set that to PHP. We're going to use blog info again, and then inside here we just want to put char set. Alright, and that looks good. Now for the H1 here, I'm actually gonna make this dynamic. So we want to say PHP blog info, and we want to use name. Alright, so let's save that and see what that gives us. Alright, so let's see what messed up here. Was it this? No. Oh, what's this? Yeah, that needs to have an ending greater than sign. There we go. Okay, so WordPress themes, and that's going to give us whatever the site name is, which we can change inside the admin area. And don't worry about this spacing up here. We'll get to that after. Okay, so let's see. What else do we need to do here? For the body, we actually want to include the body class function here. So we're going to say PHP body underscore class. Now this stuff I'm going to leave for now, the main content. For the footer, what I want to do is grab this, okay, whatever the name of the blog, and put that down here, just like that. Okay. Now what we're going to want to do is split this up into a header and a footer file. So what we'll do is inside our folder here, let's create a new file called header.php and also footer.php. Okay, and then let's figure out what we need to put in the header. So we want from the very top, and I actually do want to include the side here in the header file, so we want to go down to I would say this row. Okay, because from here down we want that to be in the index. So let's grab all this and we'll cut that out, put it inside the header file, save it. Okay, and then just bring this up. And then for the footer, let's figure that out. So we're going to want this to be the last div in the index, so everything under that. So we'll cut that, put that in footer, save it, and then inside index, let's just bring all this over like that. Okay, so if we reload now, you can see that all we're getting is the index file. We need to include the header and footer in this file. So let's do that, and that's extremely easy. All we need to do is say PHP get header. Alright, and then we're going to do the same thing for the footer. So this will be get footer. Okay, now if we go back and reload, now it's back to normal. So let's actually change the name of the site. So if we go to, let's see, settings, general, we're going to change this to photogenic. Okay, so now that should change, and there we go. So now we have our header and footer. In the next video, we're going to start to look at the content and the posts, because we want the post to be showing in the index. Okay, so we'll get to that next. Alright, so we have the header and footer files created and included in the index file. What we want to do now is work on the main post area. Okay, right now we just have a bunch of static HTML, which obviously we need to change. So we're going to have two types of posts. We're going to have regular posts, which will just be, a standard blog post with a title and paragraph. And then we're going to have a gallery post, which is going to be obviously what we've seen, just the image with the description underneath. So we need to add support for content or post formats. So what we need to do is create a functions.php file right inside of our theme. Okay, so we'll save that as functions.php. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function to set up certain support for our theme. All right, so for instance, we want to be able to use the featured image or thumbnails. So we'll put that in this function. All right, so let's say PHP, and this will be for theme support. Okay, so we're going to say function theme support. Okay, so a couple things we want to do. Let's set up featured image support. So we'll say add theme support, and then we want in here, we want to say post thumbnails. Alright, and actually let me just show you real quick, before we actually add that, I want to show you if we go to a post, we don't have that featured image box down here. So that's what we're adding right now. So for the thumbnail size, I'm actually going to put to the max image size, because we're going to use CSS to shrink the images down. Alright, so we'll say set post thumbnail size, and that's going to be 900 by 600. Okay, then we need to add our gallery post format support. So we'll say post format support, and we want to use the same add theme support function, except we want to replace this with post formats. Okay, and then a second parameter, we can put in an array of the formats we want to include. Okay, all we want besides the standard is the gallery. So we're just going to put in gallery. Okay, so that now we have the theme support function. Now we need to pass this into an action. So let's say add action, and the action is going to be after setup theme. Okay, so the second parameter is going to be the function we want to run, which is of course theme support. Actually, you know what? I want to change this to theme setup. Alright, so let's save that, and then what we'll do is go back here and reload, and now you can see we have the featured image down here. We also have support for the gallery format. Now, since we have both standard and gallery, we need to create the two files for this content. So in our photogenic folder, whoops, I don't want to do that. I want to create a new file, and we're going to save this one as content.php, and then we're going to create another one called content-gallery.php. Okay, so content will be for the standard, content gallery will be for the gallery format. Before we actually touch those files, we need to go to our index. Alright, and we're going to get rid of this for now. And then what we'll do is check for posts. If there are posts, we're going to loop through them and spit out the correct content file. So right in here, we're going to say php if, and we want to say if have underscore posts. Okay, and then we're going to use this shorthand syntax. Okay, so if there are posts, then we want to loop through them. So we can use a while loop to do that. So let's say php while have posts, while have posts, and then with WordPress we have to use this format here where we say colon the underscore post, which is a little weird, but that's just what we have to do. And let's see, this is going to have an end while. Okay, so while it has posts, then what we want to do is spit out the content file, whether it's content PHP or content gallery. That pertains to whatever they click here. Okay, so let's say PHP, and then we want to say get template part. Okay, and then what we'll do is pass in content, and we'll have a second parameter here that'll be get post format. Okay, so whether it's a gallery or just a standard post. Now I do want to put an else to this if, okay, which will mean if there are no posts. So we're going to do that right here. We'll say PHP else. And if there are no posts, then let's say PHP echo, and we're going to use this WP auto P function. And we want to say, sorry, there are no posts. Okay, let me make this formatted as PHP. There we go. Okay, so that is the index file. Let's save that. And then what it's looking for are these content files. So for now, let me just put in standard content, and then this one will be photo. And let's just see if that works. So if we go and reload, we get standard content, because if we look at our posts, we just have one called Hello World. Alright, so if we add another one, let's say test, and we'll choose gallery for this one, and then we publish. If we go back and reload, you can see we're getting photo and then standard content. So that's our two posts. They're on the same line, but this is actually two different posts. Okay, so we know that that's working. So in the next video, what we'll do is we'll work on both of these content files so that we can output the post correctly. Alright, so I'll see you in the next video. Alright, so in this video we're going to work on the content pages, both the regular post content and also the gallery. So let's start with content PHP. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to create an article tag, and we're going to give it a class of post. Okay, and a lot of this stuff will actually be the same between the two files. Alright, and then we need the title. So we're going to put that inside of an H2. So we can get that with PHP echo the title. Okay, and just to show you, if we go and reload, now you can see with the regular content posts, we're actually getting the title. Next thing we're going to want is the metadata. So let's put that in a class called meta, a paragraph with a class called meta. And in here we're going to say posted at, and then we need to get the date and time. So to do that, we can say PHP the time. Alright, and then we're going to say on, and then we want the date. So we're going to say PHP the date, and then by, and then we want the user's name, and we're going to put that in a link. So let's say ahref, and what we're going to want to do here is put in PHP tag, and we want to echo out get author posts URL. Alright, and then we need to put the ID in here for the author, which we can do with get the author meta, and we want to pass into it ID. That'll get us the author's ID. And then for the actual text, that's just going to be PHP the author. Okay, let's check it out. Okay, so posted at 2:01 p.m. on March by admin. And if we click admin, it's not going to do anything yet. We'll get to that after. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to check to see if there's a thumbnail or a featured image. So we'll say PHP if, actually one, yeah, like that. So in here we're going to say has post thumbnail. Okay, so if there's a thumbnail, and let's end that. Okay, if there's a thumbnail, then we'll create a div. We'll give it a class of post thumbnail. And in here, all we have to do is say PHP the post thumbnail. Okay, and under that we'll do a BR tag. And then we need the main content, which is really easy. We can just say the content. Just like that. Alright, so let's save it and go and reload. And there we go. We have the title, the metadata, and the content of that post. Now for the photo post, the gallery post, that's going to be a little different. Alright, so let's just take a look at our index HTML that we created earlier. Okay, so what we're going to want is one of these 4-column divs. Okay, so what we'll do is just grab that, copy it, and go and paste it in here. Okay, so we're going to want to loop through and then for each post we're going to be spitting this out, okay, but we want to change the stuff up. So we can actually the only thing we want to keep is the div. Alright, because what we want to do here is check for the thumbnail, so we want to use this same thing right here. So let's grab that. Okay, we'll put that right here. Okay, this is going to be a little different. We're going to get rid of this. Okay, so we're checking for a thumbnail if there is one. And when I say thumbnail or featured image, I mean the same thing. Alright, so we'll have the div, that's fine. And let's see, we're going to want to do a little extra here because we want the image to actually have a class so that we can do the animation and stuff like that. So we need to create an array of attributes. So let's say PHP, and we'll say attr equals array. Alright, and then in here, let's see, we're going to put class, and we want that to be W3 animate opacity, and then we also want a hover effect, which we can use W3 CSS for. So we need to just say W3 hover opacity, just like that. Alright, so then we can end the PHP, and each image is going to have a link around it. So we're going to say ahref, and that's going to go to PHP echo the permalink. Okay, that'll take it to the single post. And then we just want the thumbnail, so we're going to say PHP echo. This time we want to say get the post thumbnail. Alright, and then we get to pass in a couple things. We want to pass in ID and the size, which will be large, and then the attributes. Okay, just like that. And then underneath the div, underneath the end if, we want to put the content. Okay, we'll save that. Alright, now if we reload, we don't see anything because we didn't actually add any content to that photo post. So I'm actually going to delete that. So in our posts, what I'm going to do is delete both of these. So let's move those to trash. Okay, and then let's create a new post. So this will be, let's say, photo 1. Alright. I'm just going to paste in just a small paragraph, or just some content, which will be the description. And we want to make sure you choose gallery here. Okay. Oh, categories. We need to create those too. So for now, let's just add a category, and we'll call it nature. Actually, while we're at it, let's just create them all. We'll say objects. Let's do, what else? People. We can say places. Abstract. Okay, and I only want to choose nature. Okay, and then down here in featured image, we're going to say set featured image, and then we want to upload a file. And what I'll do is go to our HTML template here and go into images, and I'm going to grab this first image. Okay, over here you can give it a title, say photo 1. You can put a caption, description, and then we'll say set featured image. Okay, so things you should have is the title, description, gallery, you want to check that, category, and then a featured image. Okay, and we'll go ahead and say publish, and let's take a look at the front end. Okay, so there's our image. It fades in. Obviously the proportion isn't correct, so what we need to do is go to our CSS, which is, let's see, style.css, and we want to go down to pick. Okay, but this time we want the actual image, so we're going to say pick image, and we're going to set the width to 100%, and I'm going to make that important, and then we're also going to set the height to 100%. Alright, so let's save that and reload, and there we go. Okay, so that looks good. If we click it, it's going to take us to the single page, which we haven't created yet, so don't worry about that. Let's go ahead and just upload the rest of these. Okay, so we'll go to posts, and we'll say add new. This will be photo 2. And let's see, I'm just going to grab some text, gallery, and let's see, we'll pick the image here. We'll get this one, and let's see, I'm going to add a category of animals. Okay, so that looks good. Let's publish that and go back and reload, and now we have our dolphins picture. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just add the rest, and I'll be back. Alright, so I have uploaded 6 posts, or 6 images, and you can see it's all showing correctly. If we look in the back end in the post area, we have our 6 photos. Alright, so we now have that functionality down. In the next video, I want to work on the categories. Okay, we want this to start working. We want it to be a WordPress widget. Okay, so we'll do that next. Hey guys, in this video we're going to be working on the categories widget here on the left. Right now it's just a static HTML unordered list. So what we want to do is in the back end, if we go to, actually, you know what, we haven't even enabled widgets yet, so we have to do that first. In order to use widgets, we have to include the initialization code in our functions.php file. So let's go to functions.php, and we're going to go down to the bottom here, and let's see, we have to specify the locations. So we'll say widget locations, and then function, we'll call it init widgets, and that's going to take in an ID. And then what we want to do is say register sidebar. Now this is a WordPress function that you want to use when you're creating any kind of widget position. Even though it said sidebar, it doesn't have to be in a sidebar. In our case it is, but it doesn't have to be. Alright, so what we want to do in here is put in an array. Okay, so we have to give it a name, which will be sidebar, and an ID, which will be sidebar lowercase. Alright, and then we're going to add action. Okay, the hook we want is widgets init. Okay, and then of course we want to put in the function we just created, which is init widgets. Alright, now we still have to register them, so we're going to say register widgets. We're only going to have just the sidebar in this particular template. So we want function, let's say custom register widgets, and we want to call register widget. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're gonna use the categories widget, but we're gonna take it and create a custom version of it and put it in our template, in our theme folder. All right, so in here we'll say WP underscore widget underscore categories underscore custom. All right, and then we need to add action. Same thing, this is going to be widgets init. Is when we want this to run. And then we want this in here. Alright, so let's save that. Now what we need to do is in our photogenic theme folder, we're going to create a folder called widgets. Okay, and then inside there, we're going to create a new file, and we're going to save this as class-wp-widget categories and .php. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the core widgets folder, which is in the WP includes folder. Okay, and then there's a widgets folder. We're going to open that, and then we want the categories widget right here. And what I'm going to do is just copy everything in it and then paste it into the file that we created. Okay, now we do want to change the class name. Remember, in our functions file we called it this right here, WP widgets categories custom. So that's what we want here. Alright, and we're going to save that. Now in order to use this we have to include this file in our functions file, so let's go to the top here. And the reason that I'm doing this, I probably should have told you before, is because I want to be able to style it this way. Alright, because if we don't edit this file and add the correct class, it's not going to look like this. Okay, actually, you know what, let's go ahead and just well, let me do this first. So in functions we want to say require once, and then we'll say widgets slash class dash WP widget categories .php. Okay, so let's save that, and then let's go into our admin area. And now you should be able to go to appearance, and then you should see a widgets item. Okay, and you can see we have our sidebar. So we're going to bring categories over. And click save, and then let's go to our front end. And, oh, we didn't put the placeholder in there yet. So we need to go into header.php, and where we have this unordered list right here, we're going to actually just get rid of that. and I'm just going to paste this in. Okay, so this is how we can add a widget to our code. First thing we're doing is checking for, we're saying is active sidebar, the name sidebar. If it is, then we're going to go ahead and call dynamic sidebar, and we want the sidebar position. Okay, this could actually be anything you wanted it to be, but in our case we named it sidebar. So let's save that, and let's go and reload, and there we go. There's the categories widget. Alright, if I click on it, on one of these, it's going to work. Okay, so it's showing us the images that are in that particular category. Okay, so you can see that the appearance of it did change. That's why we need to put it in our own file here to edit, because you never want to edit any of the core widget files. So just to make sure that this is that it's actually reading it from this file, let's go ahead and change something. Actually, you know what I'm going to do is get rid of the title. I don't want to have the title. So right here, I'm going to just comment this out. Alright, we'll save that, reload, and now you can see that the title's gone. Next thing we want to do is add our class. So we need to find where the UL starts, which is right here. And what we want to do is just add class equals w3-ul. Okay, now we'll save that and go and reload, and now it looks like it did before, and it works. Alright, the last thing I want to do is I want a link at the top here that says all photos, so we can go back to just seeing all of the photos. So we're going to go, actually we're going to go right under that UL, and let's put an LI. Okay, so this is going to go to slash, and then whatever your folder's called, we're in WP themes. Let's see, and then here we're going to say all photos. Okay, reload, and now we have an all photos link, and we can now go back. Now, one other thing I want to do is take care of this margin right here. Now, the reason that it's like this is because it's making room for the admin bar, which isn't showing. In order for that to show, we actually have to call WP footer inside of our footer file. So let's go there, and we're just going to say PHP WP underscore footer. Okay, we'll save that, reload. And now you can see we have our admin bar. And of course this only shows to people that are logged in as an admin. Now the very last thing I want to do is make this search bar functional. Okay, right now if we put something in here and I press enter, it's not doing anything. So we know that that's in the header file, so let's go there. And right now we just have a simple input. We actually need to turn this into a form, so we're going to put form tags around it. Okay. We're going to put in a method which is just going to be get. Okay, method get. And then we need to have an action. And the action, we're going to put in some PHP tags, and we want to echo, and I'm going to say escape URL, and then inside there we're going to use the home URL function, and in here we just want to pass a parameter of slash, and that should do it. Oh, one last thing, we should give this input, give it a name of S for search. Okay, so we'll save that, reload, and in here let's say photo 2, enter, and you can see it's giving us photo 2. Say photo 3, and if we just put in photo, it's going to give us all of them. Alright, well actually one of them isn't. I thought we had 6. Which ones are what are we missing? I must not have named it correctly. Or it's set to only give us 5. Oh, okay, so one of them I put post for. Okay, so I'm just going to change that back to photo. Okay. So that's the search widget, that's the category widget. Okay, the last thing we need to do is the single page. Okay, so we'll get to that in the next video. Alright, so we're almost there, we're almost done. What we want to do now is the single page. Okay, that's all we have left of this theme. So if I click on one of these, it takes us to the correct place, but it doesn't look too good. Alright, we want this to look like the single HTML page that we created. So what we need to do is in our photogenic theme folder, we're going to create a new file, and we're going to save it as single.php. Alright, and what we're going to do is go into index.php, and I'm going to copy what we have there, paste it in. Alright, and we want to remove this part right here, this get template part. Alright, this is where we want to put our article that that we created in our single.html file. So let's open that up. Okay, and what we want is everything that's in the article tag here. So we're going to grab that whole thing, copy it, and then we'll go to single.php and we're going to paste it right in the while loop. Okay, so now we need to make these fields dynamic. Okay, so let's start with the meta, since that's at the top. So let's replace 2 p.m. with PHP the time, and then this right here we'll replace with the date. This is one of the best things about WordPress, is the ease of including dynamic content. Alright, and then this right here, actually let's grab that from content PHP because it's kind of long. Okay, we're going to grab this line right here and just replace the name. Okay, so that makes the metadata dynamic. And then down here we have just a static image. We obviously want to get rid of that. Let's copy what we have in content gallery, which is, we'll grab this whole thing right here. If has post thumbnail, which ends right here. Okay, we'll grab that, and we're going to replace this image right here. Okay, we'll paste that in, and we're going to change it from opacity to, what was it, right? I think it's W3 animate right, and we can get rid of the hover thing here. Alright, and this doesn't need to have a link, so we're going to get rid of that and that. Okay, so that looks good. Now down here for the back button, we're going to change it from index.html. Instead of that, we're going to say PHP, what was it? I think it's echo site underscore URL. That should work. Okay, that'll take us back, and then we need a dynamic title, so we can simply use the title. And then for the content, we can do PHP the content. Alright, so let's take a look at that. Okay, so that looks good. Back button works. Click on any one of these and you can see it just slides right in. Perfect. Alright, so I think that does it for our theme. It's very simple, but I think it's pretty elegant. And of course, if you wanted to add widgets in the sidebar, you could do that. If you want to create regular posts, you can also do that. It doesn't have to be photos. So that's it. All right. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next project.